Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Saturday. I'm Leslie Watkins. So I hope you're well. I hope everybody's been busy making things and getting ready for spring. I wonder where you're all from and what you've been working on. Put it in the comments below so I can see who's here. I have a really exciting share with you today. I have a project that I've been working on for several weeks now, maybe even a month or more, and I'm going to show you how it looks today and let you know how you can join the Honeybee Needlebook Workshop. So let me just get the stamp set out to show you what I used to make this. I know I've mentioned it a few times before, but this is going to be the big unveiling. And what I used was this stamp set, which I really love, the Honeybee Home. And I used it because I love these little bees, which are actually, I think they're called honeybee, but I think they look like bumblebees. But either way, they're kind of very chubby, too chubby for honeybees. And I also used this little sprig of flowers here in the design. So what gave me the idea to do this was I have a couple of boxes filled with buttons and from my grandmother, from my mother. I've also got a sewing box that was my mom's that has all of her things in it. And I also have my grandmother's antique treadle sewing machine. It's a Wheeler and Wilson, and it dates around 1880. And it was the precursor to the Singer sewing machines. In fact, the Wheeler and Wilson company had invented a way of, I, I think it was an orientation of the bobbin, whereas I think Singer had it maybe going up and down, and Wheeler and Wilson had it going side to side, or vice versa, something like that. And the Wheeler and Wilson way was superior. So Singer bought them out. And all of the early Singer sewing machines were identical to the Wheeler and Wilsons. The only thing they did was change the decals on them. And so that's what I have. I have a beautiful old Wheeler and Wilson treadle sewing machine. In fact, I've got two. Because I got a second one so that I could have some parts should I need them for my machine. And it still works beautifully. All these years later, it works just as well as ever. And and so when I started making journals, I got interested in the idea of using stitching and machine stitching with paper and fabric. And so I ended up going out and getting another sewing machine, this time one that has a zigzag feature because I wanted to be able to do zigzags. So enough about that. That's a little bit about some of my interests in sewing. And then while I was never much of a sewer, I did like to embroider when I was a young girl. And my grandmother taught me how to she taught me how to crochet. She also showed me how to use the antique sewing machine. My mother was a wonderful sewer and made a lot of beautiful clothes for herself. Not so much for me, but as a girl, she was a roller skater. And so when she used to compete, she would have to make her own costumes, and that's how she learned how to sew. And then later in life, she really became quite the seamstress and would make suits and all sorts of other things for herself. She did make me a few things that were absolutely gorgeous. So when I moved to New York City, one of my first jobs was as a embroiderer, because I would like to design these little pictures that could be embroidered onto denim jackets and blue jeans and that sort of things. And I found a boutique that was over in Chelsea in New York back in the 70s, and I was the embroiderer there. And I have a lot of my old things left from those days. Some of my threads are and woolen tapestry threads are still perfectly good. I have my hoops and my needles and a few other odds and ends. But all of these things from my background, from my mother's and my grandmother's, were in all different boxes and places, and squirreled away in the attic. And I needed a place to have the things I used most frequently handy. And that's sort of how this little book came about. So I'm going to show you what I have here. First, let me just check my settings and make sure that we're broadcasting. Okay, that looks good. If you hear that thumping in the background, it's because my cat Bracken is running around like a maniac today. Okay, there we go. I see Ginger, Kelly, and Danette. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Make sure. It looks like the screen is frozen. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is the cover of the needle book. And I've shown you a little bit of this before, but I don't think you've seen everything all put together here. So this is a piece of sari silk in this beautiful old gold color. The cover of the book has those bumblebees that I used the stamps that I showed you earlier to design with. And then I added some beads and some little golden spangles. And these bumblebees or honeybees have a metallic gold thread used for the stripes and for the wings. So they're nice and sparkly. I don't think you're going to be able to see that in the video so much, but they look really nice. And then there is a little bit of running stitch to show some little movement in the background. I've added a bee charm to the spine. This is just a little charm on a garment pin. And, oops, don't want to show you that too soon. Hold on a minute. There we go. The back of the book has an old lace tablecloth with a little bit of this lace trim on the edge of the back cover and then again on the front cover, framing my embroidery here. And then there's a little pocket in the front of the book, so you could tuck some cards in there. I've got some cards that I made with the Honeybee Home stamp set and dies. The dies are actually really beautiful. You can see this wonderful, I think you can see this, very fine, beautiful die cut of these flowers and these leaves, and I just added a little bit of the linen trim. And for just a monochromatic simple card, that's a wonderful design. And then here we have something a little more elaborate. This card has a watercolor that is stitched to the gold glimmer vellum, which has been embossed with the Hive 3D folder. And then it has a little die cut bee here and some more of the linen thread and the sentiment with some rhinestones. So inside the book, I have a place to keep my skeins of embroidery floss. And these are held in place by some gourd pins attached to a piece of lace. And I've got a little bit of trim here with some measuring tape. Here's my gold metallic threads. Over on this side, I've got a couple of little lace belly bands that will hold some linen thread on a bobbin. And here I've got another one. This one has a little needle in it, and they tuck nicely in there. There's a felt pin holder on the front here. These are corsage pins with the pearl tips, and they're just arranged around the edge to create a little bit of a decorative border. And this little bee is also stamped and stitched with the embroidery thread in both black and the gold, and then it zigzagged down onto the woolen felt here, which is hand stitched to the front pocket here. And we're going to come back to this pocket, but before I get to that, I just want to go through the book with you. This is the main feature of the needle book. This is a place where I can store all of my pins and needles. And I've designed this so that I can open up the double 2-page spread and have all of my straight pins handy. And I can just keep this next to where I'm working and pull these needles and pins out as I need them. And as you can see, I've selected an assortment of different colors that match the theme of the journal. These are more pins over around this side as well. And this side is actually tripled up, so I can use this as a pin cushion. So I can just tuck my pins in there as I'm working. Here's my beautiful honeybee with the Baltic amber body in it. I think I showed you a video of that earlier. So there he is, or she is, I should say. And then I've got another bit of that tape measure trim along the top. So you can see that the width of the book is 12 inches and the height of the book is about 8 inches. And then on the last page, I have my tools. So over here, I've got my little embroidery scissors, and they tuck into this little lace belly band here. I've got a needle threader. Over here, I've got a little clip that holds my thimble in place. In this pocket, I have my little hoop ready to go. And in this little packet, I have my beeswax for my thread. Now, the way this needle book differs from most needle books is that a lot of people use their needle books for sewing projects, and while much of my sewing is related to that, I'm primarily interested in creating journals. So I've got tools and supplies that will help me keep all of my journal making. we have a visitor. This is Bracken. Bracken is a very large orange cat. In fact, he's enormous. I don't know if I can get him to look at the camera. There he is. Hello, Bracken. You wanted to be the star of the show today? Yeah. Okay. This is, what I was saying is that these tools are for my journal making. So I've got my bone folder, I've got a piercing tool, and which is an owl that I use to pierce my signatures with and my spines. I've got a metal ruler here. I've got a milor, which is a embroidery tool that helps you to lay gold work down easily. And I don't know if you can see on there, but there is a beautiful little bumblebee or honeybee etched. I don't think I can show you that. Oh, there a little bit. Can you see that? Can you see it there? So there's the little bee on there. And then here is a dangle that I made specifically for this book that has amber honey drop on it here. It's got a little tiny bee and a honeycomb, and then it's got a bigger bee up at the top and another little stone that is kind of amber colored. And this is another needle threader over on this side. On this side of the book, I've got a needle keeper, and for those of you who don't know what a needle keeper is, this is a little magnetic button that your needles will stick to, so that when you're working and you want to just put your needle down for a moment, you can take the needle keeper, and this just has a little magnetic backing that goes to the back like that, and you can put that right on your work. So if you're working on a hoop, you can keep your needle right where you know where it is. There's a little pocket back here, and I've got some of the honeybee cards that I've been making. There's the Dandelion card that's going to be featured in the upcoming Introduction to Botanical Painting. So if you've registered for that, that's coming right up. Here's a honeybee that I painted for the Watercolor Card Club this past month. And we learned the honeybee anatomy, how to sketch a honeybee, and how to begin painting it. And here's a little scene that combines the dandelion and the honeybee with a little bee yard in the background. So I've got these cards just tucked in the back here, like so. Now, and that's the back of the needle book. So the Honeybee Workshop is not, we're not going to be making this needle book, but you are going to be getting all of the instructions and the 4 videos that I made to show you how to create this needle book. What we are going to do is we're going to make this little needle book. Okay, so here is one of the projects. This is going to be a 2-part class. So we're going to have projects to make in the afternoon and projects in the morning. And to find out more about the Honeybee Workshop, go to dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to notes. Or also, you'll find the link in the description below after the video. There's also a previous post that has all the information on it. And when you subscribe to notes, I will send you all the information about the upcoming Honeybee Workshop with all of the videos on how you can make all of the things that you see here today. And you'll be able to register. There's going to be several different ways that you can register. There's going to be the deluxe version where you get a great big box filled with all sorts of goodies from me, like a mini retreat. And then there's going to be just the project version if you're not interested in getting any of the goodies and participating in the class. You can just follow along at your own convenience. So make sure that you sign up for notes from Dandelion Cottage so that you can get all the information that you need. So in this little needle book, it just opens up and holds some beautiful merino wool felt with the little bit of lace decoration, and that's going to keep your needles in a safe place where you can find them. and then it's bound with the seam ribbon and decorated with some lace and the honeybee on the cover. And one of the video tutorials will be on how you can embroider one of these bees if you desire. So here's an example of the bee that's just stamped, and here's that same bee that's embroidered. So if you feel like you want to spend a little extra time embroidering, and it really doesn't take that long, you will have all the information on how to do that. You'll also learn how to make a little button card, and you'll get all of this material in your kit. And in here I have some antique abalone buttons that were my grandmother's, and I have those mounted on this little button card, and that's protected inside the case here with the envelope. And I have another style of button card that opens like a little book. And here, these buttons are really old. These are all hand-carved abalone buttons. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the iridescence on them, but they're absolutely gorgeous. Now I've got one more thing to show you that was in this little pocket, and I thought that this little needle book was the perfect place to store this wonderful handmade book that my friend Jill made for me. It's absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, it's a miniature book. It measures about 1 3/4 inches high and about the same wide, and it's all hard bound. It has a spine, and inside the book she's got this kind of honey marbled paper end papers, and then she's got this little story that's illustrated, and printed, and she writes about the keeping of bees and the bee colony. You can see the tiny little bee illustration there, and some honeycomb down at the bottom of the page. And it goes on. There you can see the center where the book is bound. And this says favorite bee plant. So there's a list of the favorite bee plants over on the right hand side. Responsibilities of the beekeeper. And then she signed it. And that's my very special little miniature bee book. And I thought that that was a perfect place to tuck it in my bee needle book. So I hope that gave you some ideas. I hope that you'll join me in this wonderful workshop. This is going to be an unusual workshop for me because I only do these a couple of times a year. And as I said, it's going to be a morning and afternoon session. There will be a lot of videos, at least 7 videos, maybe 8. A lot of goodies. There'll be a goodie bag. There'll be a kit to make the little needle book and the button cards. And there's going to be instruction on embroidery. And so it's going to be quite the comprehensive class. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to include a live Zoom so that everybody can show what they've made. And I'd love to hear your stories about your sewing box. Do you all have sewing boxes that belong to either your mom or your grandmother, maybe your great-grandmother? And do you have special items in there? What's your special item? I'd like to see. and maybe you'd like to create a book like this that you can keep some of those treasures protected and handy so that you can continue to use them. So let me just check and see if there's any questions here. Oh, I see a lot more of you have joined. Hi, Abby. Hi, Kit and Sandra. Yes, Bracken made a guest appearance. He's a ham bone. All right, I don't see any questions, but I'm so glad that you've taken the time to join me. I hope you like what I made. And be sure to be subscribed to Notes from Dandelion Cottage so that you can learn how you can register for this special workshop. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.